Hey everyone, it's Tico. I'm about to head out the door to go help my boy Cozy out. But before I do that, I wanted to record the next tarot tutorial, tutorial 21, I believe it is. And this is going to be looking at what we call the planetary rulers. So planetary rulers of the signs of the zodiac. And I'm going to, similar to the last tutorial, I'm going to explain those just with some keywords. And then we're going to go over looking at the major arcana, just associations with the cards. So this is something where I think is really fun, and hopefully based off the last video and this one, you can start to play around with, let's just say, focus on the major arcana, and you already have all the other tutorials and information on that, right? In your notebooks, which I hope you're keeping, and the free PDF download. We're at the bottom of this page here where it says solar yang, lunar yin, planetary rulers. Right, follow along with that, take some notes, post some comments for me. I'm curious to hear about what your associations are, or even what some associations like trigger for you, what you enjoy, what you don't, all that. So, also, please, there'll be a link in the description. Join the Facebook group for free advanced tarot mentorship if you want to take your readings to the next level and talk about how we can apply some of this information. Right, okay. So just to go over a little bit here, we have our 7 planets, our 7 alchemical planets, right? They were the ones visible by the human eye, and go all the way back to the ancient Kabbalah on the Tree of Life. We have our 7 planets in our 12 astrological signs. Okay, so you know we each of the signs breaks down into one of the 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. So that's one kind of level of association there. But even taking it deeper, what they called planetary rulers. So there was for each of the planets. Each of the signs, each of the 12 signs has a planet that rules over it, governs it, influences it, okay, specifically. And the sun and the moon are special. They only have one sign each that they influence. The other 5 planets have what they call a solar influence and a lunar influence. So thinking about the associations from the last video: sun, consciousness, outer expression, right? Moon, lunar, inner expression. So, or I kind of put down there, if you're looking at the Taoist symbol, right? The yang and the yin. So one of the 2 signs is this outgoing or expressive, you could even say masculine, right? And the other sign is this incoming, receptive, you would say feminine. And again, it's very important to stress that when I use the gender, masculine and feminine, it has nothing to do with biological gender, sexual gender, anything like that. That's the Hermetic gender when we went over the laws of Hermeticism, right? As written in the Kabbalion, okay? The principle of gender. So gets down to, even if you want to think about your cardinal, fixed, and mutable, right? Cardinal is that yang energy, right? Fixed is that receptive. So really thinking more of, you could think electric, magnetic. That's another good way to look at it, okay? And so really any of these energies, that's why I said isn't specific like sexual or gender related, because any of these energies manifest in any form, right? These are things that are actually happening just in the moment, as we use our muscles, right? Yang outgoing, yin incoming, right? So that's just something to think about. Okay. But so we have our, like I said, our sun and our moon, they each only rule one sign. So let's start with that. The sun rules the sign of Leo. Okay. Sun rules the sign of Leo. These are called the planetary rulers. So the last video was on influences. These are rulers, governs, right? The moon rules the sign of Cancer, governs the sign of Cancer. So those are the 2 where there's just one. Sun governs Leo, Moon governs Cancer. They make up their own kind of special yin and yang. And then Mercury governs Gemini and Virgo. Air and Earth. Air and Earth are opposites. Gemini is the yang of Mercury, and Virgo is the yin, or the solar and the lunar. I'll just say that, solar and lunar. You can do the yang and the yin. So Gemini is the solar, and Virgo is the lunar of Mercury. Venus rules Libra and Taurus. Libra is the solar reflection of Venus being ruled, and Taurus is the lunar. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. Aries being the outgoing, the solar, Scorpio being the lunar, the inner. And again, that's fire and water, outgoing. So those you can go back to even just the videos on the thinking about how the elements and how those relate, right? So each one of these is opposite fire and water, incoming, outgoing. And that also, sorry, not to go on a tangent here, but I want you to kind of like start making these connections on your own. This also goes back to the concept of when we were looking at how the opposites interact, fire and water, air and earth, and looking at that elemental alchemy and magic, and balancing those. So we can think about if a planet is governing both of these, what does that look like when each one is balanced perfectly by that planet? Also, when we were looking at the planetary aspects before, what could be some negative ones? Well, is there too much of one and not enough of the other, right? So we have these alchemical elements there. Also, remembering then how when we went over the elements, fire and air, like I said, were considered that masculine, right? And water and earth were that receptive, that feminine, that yin. So those are how these solar and lunar reflections occur. Each one of these fires is solar because it was kind of like that positive going back there. And each one of these waters is yin. Same with air and earth. Each planet's governing one of the two opposites. The air is the yang, the outgoing, and the earth is that yin, feminine, receptive, okay? All right, so that was just a tangent right there. Where do we leave off on? I think we just did Venus. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we just did Mars. Mars is ruling Aries as that yang, and Scorpio as that yin. Jupiter rules Sagittarius as its solar, and Pisces as its lunars. So Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces. And Saturn rules Aquarius and Capricorn. Aquarius is the solar of Saturn, and Capricorn is the feminine, the yin, the receptive. Okay, so that's the planetary rulers and the solar and lunar expressions. I'm going to take one sip of coffee here. And now it gets really just fun. I'm going to run through that again very briefly and just put up some of the images of the cards so you can start seeing how you can play around with the cards. We've gone through the numerology. I'll do a video on maybe how we can add and subtract some of that, but that's fun. We've got our elements going on. We've got our storylines going on. We've got all this fun stuff for here in the major arcana, right? I think this is really fun. So now, going back to just after the last video we associated, right? The planetary influences. The major arcana that represent the planets, and I have my major arcana which represent the signs. So let's just think about how these all connect, right? So sun, which is, our brightness, our clarity, whatever. Sun rules the sign of Leo, represented by strength, right? So when we're looking at that divine intervention, divine strength, clarity, guidance, brightness, our conscious mind, sun is ruling strength. the moon is represented by the high priestess, right? Our moon, our inner, our emotional, our psychic, that rules Cancer, the chariot. So now it's even interesting as we want to look at the, that's just why I love the symbolism of the Rider-Waite deck. And we can look at some similarities of here we have our two polar opposites, right? Inner world. What are we doing with that inner energy to propel forward? How do we control that and turn that into a force? But it's also Cancer. It's a stabilized force, right? Interesting, right? Mercury, the magician, as above, so below, rules the solar, Gemini, and the lunar, Hermit, Virgo, right? So, Mercury, through our, communication, our intelligence, our movement, our travel, the sensory input, sensory information. We have our Gemini unifying opposites, expressing sides. Our Virgo, our 9, our attainment, are working towards that goal governed, right? All by the magician here. Solar, lunar, Gemini, Virgo. And then again, you could think about these are opposites. Air, Earth, right? 6 and 9. How do they correspond, right? 6 and 9. Sorry, this is where it gets fun. Totally off topic. 6 and 9, 15. I'm not even going to pull it out yet. We'll get there, right? I wasn't going to go way off topic. I got to stay focused here. All right. Venus, right? We talked about her influences, love, pleasure, expressing affection. That's why when the Lovers comes up, that really doesn't have to do with romantic relationships much, right? It has to do with something way more esoteric. But Venus, this is our love expression, right? Joy, beauty, harmony. What does it govern? Venus governs justice as its sun, natural balances, right? Things that are fair, having their own accord. All this beautiful stuff, that's its sun. And it governs Taurus as its yin. This is why oftentimes they say the Empress and the Emperor don't quote unquote marry in the tarot deck, right? But the Empress and the Hierophant, right? 5 and 8. Do you get your chariot there? Anyways, okay, right. So Venus rules justice and rules the Hierophant. Mars, represented by the Tower, right? Mars is our forcefulness, action, our sex drive, our energy, our boldness, conflict, all that, right? What does it rule? It rules Aries, and Aries' sun is, the sun of Mars is Aries, and the moon is Scorpio, death. This is such a fun one here, because here's our Tower, our male and our female, even in a way, right? So Mars rules Aries, which is the Emperor, which is interesting. It's a stability, but it's a process of when divine intervention hits, right? That's always going to crumble. And Mars rules Scorpio. Water, receptive part of Mars, death, rebirth, right? So think about how those things there, that fire, that action, and natural process, reaction, destruction. So there's really cool associations. All right, almost done here. Jupiter, right? Luck, good fortune, will, abundance, expansion. That the solar is Sagittarius, and the lunar is Pisces, right? So the solar, Sagittarius, represented by temperance, and Pisces. So Jupiter rules that, the moon card as well. Those are things to think about there. And our last one, Saturn, the world, right? Saturn is all about those lessons sometimes that chains us down. We have to self-discipline, right? Courage, integrity, stability, etc. The yang of Saturn rules Aquarius, the solar. So that's actually the star. That's the outgoing of Saturn. And then Capricorn, the yin of Saturn, the receptive side, the devil. So there's your solar and lunar planetary rulers. Really excited to see where you take this information, and have fun and blessings.